It's New Thought Tuesdays, and I'm going to say that again in just a few seconds. Welcome, it's New Thought Tuesdays. Rich Smith and Dean Regan have made a little recording for this week's topic, which is what voices are you listening to? Yeehaw! What voices are
Yeah.
you listening to? And then we're going to go into the inner circle, but we all explain that on the recording. So take it away, Mr. Smith.
Okay. One moment. Oh, can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Nice bow tie, though.
I don't know why I can't hear it. Let me play it here and see why it's not. Oh, I know why.
This is my favorite part. This is my
Seems to be
favorite part.
talking heads everywhere, including between your two ears.
Get feedback, right?
Yep.
About you, but sometimes for me, it begins to feel like there's just this yammering going on. And the yammering is not of my spiritual truth. So today, about this noise and releasing it, identifying who you're listening to.
I think we're going to have to do this live.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to New Thought Tuesdays. I am Dean Regan, and this is Richard Smith. And there I am. Welcome to New Thought Tuesdays. What
Okay, take two.
are you listening to? So the voice in his head was, I guess we're going to do this live. And the voice that it was in his head is, I don't see a way completely out of this as far as technical ways to go. And he was like, here's my choice. I know we can do this live, so let's do this live. That's the voice that he was listening into his head. And my voice that was listening in my head was, Richard said, we're doing this live. We're doing this live. Okay.
Exactly.
The first one might have been, oh shit, but we're doing this live. There you go.
Yeah.
So what voices are in your head?
Yeah. Well, in my head, it was, this isn't going to work.
This isn't going to work.
Something else. Let's go live.
Right.
And so here we are live. Listen to that voice in my head.
And identifying the idea of what constitutes work. What is the perfection? Is there a particular perfection that we're looking for? And so we're talking today about navigating those noises and navigating those voices, which can be very noisy. And we've like the idea of, have you ever felt just completely overwhelmed by the constant chatter, the opinions, that are just surrounding you and making you hear these external ideas as opposed to your own inner voice? So we have a question. What if the key to a fulfilling and successful life lies in discerning? I love that word. Who you truly listen to. And I say who, because
Would be what?
even if it's a what, there's an interpretation that is personal to you. Even if, you know, your cabaret stool is talking to you, there's a personification of there. So in this world, anyway, getting to this idea of in this world that seems to be filled with endless distractions and opinions. Okay, just take a minute. Can you imagine what we're talking about? The idea of endless distractions and opinions. It's easy to lose sight sometimes of our inner guidance. That guidance that is of love and kindness and calm. And when we're not in alignment with our own intention, your intention, mine is love and kindness and calm. Your intention might be dynamics and expression and creativity, whatever your God qualities are at this particular moment. These other ideas, these other voices, this other noise can come in appear to come in the way of your own voice. So we're going to talk about allowing yourself to identify the noise, allowing yourself to identify the inner voice. And in the inner circle, we're going to be talking about understanding the impact and techniques to quiet and connect with your inner wisdom. Okay, spoiler alert, it's going to be spiritual practice. So these are the techniques that we're going to talk about more specifically.
Yeah.
We have also exercises therein. So, hey, Mr. Smith, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Listening to that inner voice, you get a lot of input from different places.
Yeah.
And so how do you discern what is the voice that's coming from spirit or the voice that's coming from ego? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like determining what is this voice that I'm listening to, whether it's the media, the news on the media, whether it's just in my life as as a filmmaker, and choices that I have to make, pressure from family, pressure from people in the industry, investors in a film. Um, what is the voice that you want to listen to, and how is it going to affect the outcome of your thing? And to me, it's whatever is good for the highest good of all involved. That's the voice that I want to listen to, not the voice where it's, oh, this is good for me, but the heck with everybody else. It's like if it feels like it's going to be good for me and for everybody else, then it's usually the right voice. If I get that feeling that this feels good, and you can go in and just, in your emotions, where in your body are you feeling this? Is it anger? Is it resentment? Is it coming from frustration? Where is it? If it's coming from all of those, it's not coming from your higher source, I believe.
Okay, so yes, and I agree with every word and every pause that you gave there. Every part of that, I agree 100%. That sense of the higher power. I would begin the conversation for some of the folks that are listening to say, identifying the ego basically has to do when you're trying to make something happen so you can control it and be responsible for every aspect of it from beginning to end so that it works in a way that you want. That's when we're starting to talk about ego. Now, you know that I use the word in the way you want because we completely believe here at New Thought Tuesdays that knowing what it is that you are wanting, that which you are called for, that divine desire is very important. But when the divine desire gets like, I want infinite love, and I want it to unfold like this, and it needs to look like this, and it should look like that, and it never has looked like that. I want it to look like that. And when your voice starts to say that, then we're talking about ego.
Yeah.
That driving directional. I say this at home all the time. It's like, oh, am I going to this right now? And this is Lucy from Linus and Charlie Brown. It's like, I heard you say that. You didn't. You paused before you talked to me. That voice going on. That's a whole other story. You have to be in the inner circle to really know what I'm talking about. But
yeah,
so that's what we're talking about as far as that inner voice from the ego aspect.
right.
Identifying, first off, what are the possible voices? What's the voice that I'm experiencing right now? Perhaps hearing. And how is it in alignment with my divine desires?
Right. And let's get political without getting political. Because there's a lot going on there with all these voices around you. You listen to one media, it's telling you one thing, you listen to another news media, and it's telling you something different, and you don't know what to believe. And so, for me, back when, you could listen to the news and you'd get an unbiased opinion. And then you'd weigh it out and how does this feel with me and how I sit. But now it's so biased and you don't know what to believe. And so without getting political, Democratic, Republican, you know, Trump, Kamala, without getting political, how do you discern with all of this stuff that you're being bombarded with? That kind of
Well,
noise.
I think this is a great metaphor because I was at a dear friend's house visiting last week, an amazing friend of the family for decades. And I discovered that there was news on the television pretty much every waking moment that there wasn't a Hallmark movie on. There was kind of the balance. There was news and Hallmark movies. But it was regardless of who was on, it was like, but I've heard this at least 14 times in the last 17 minutes.
Yes.
And it's got this kind of tone to it that I find disconcerting. But I'm listening to it. It's going on. It's like I'm in the other room and I can still hear these voices that are driving it with a particular agenda, whatever that agenda is. And it's a wonderful metaphor for those voices in our head, because to a certain extent, I mean, from a human extent, I truly, I believe that the news is an opportunity for prayer. The news is like, okay, that happened. Let me pray. Turn down the sound, put it on pause or whatever. Let me pray. Okay, next story, please. Or I'll pray with the sound off, or I'll pray just continuing through the thing. It's an opportunity to pray. And when it's not, and it's not providing me with some information that I'm interested in, that I have a divine desire to be part of, then I turn it off. And can we so I've identified a voice that I don't particularly value, and I've got a switch, and I push that switch. I can do that actually in the human terms, and we can do it metaphorically in our spiritual practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And that happens with every aspect of our life. We're always getting opinions, let's say from people, even social media. Let's say, I work with filmmakers. And so let's say here's an example that you create a teaser for a new film that you want to direct, and you get these negative comments that linger in your mind, and they cause you to question the viability of the decisions that you make and the creative decisions in this movie. But that's just public opinion, and you're going to get people that are going to support you and make you feel good about what you're doing. You're going to get people that are going to put you down and try to take you down. And so, the whole idea for me is to just go with what feels right, as long as it's for the highest good of all involved, and it's not going to hurt anybody. So it doesn't matter what this person says or that person says. In my Infinite Filmmaker ebook, there's this idea that you don't listen to the peanut gallery, because you're going to get opinions from everybody. And you have to go within and know what feels right. Your family and friends are going to give you their opinion. I don't know how much I grew up listening to, how are you going to make money doing that? And why don't you get a real job? I'm sure a lot of you guys in the filmmaking and the music industry, get that a lot. How are you going to make money at this? And in the end, I just turned 72. And in the end, I look back and I go, you know what? I enjoyed my life. Yeah, I didn't make a lot of money like my family. They worked their whole life and they retired. But I enjoyed my life. And so I believe I made the right choice, because I had a great life. I really loved what I was doing. And so if you love what you're doing, and you're not hurting anybody else, and it's for the highest good of all involved, just keep doing it.
So are you listening to Rich, and are you able to identify the voice or voices that he's listening to? And he could, because he's articulating it quite clearly. He's also identified, for instance, the familial voice. Can anybody identify with the familial voice that comes your way? How are you going to make a living at that? Even if it's like, Oh, Dean, that's wonderful. How are you going to make a living at that? Like, okay, that was a voice that I had in my experience. I needed to come to terms with where I was with that sense of abundance
Mm.
and how it related to my creativity. So I tend to work with spiritual leaders and emerging spiritual leaders, even if they're attorneys and accountants and housewives and all of that. These are the people that are drawn to the living in concert with life a premise. Those spiritual leaders and emerging spiritual leaders. And uh, what one person was saying to me the other day, the idea of the satanic voice that's in your head, that belief in Satan or the belief that there's a voice outside of yourself that is guiding you and actually inflicting pain in yourself. That's a belief in a voice. And as I heard this, I just started to laugh because it was so, it was appropriate for what we were talking about, but it was like, what voices are we all, Dean included, buying into and
Yeah.
identifying them through spiritual practice, meditation, prayer, affirmation,
Yeah.
et cetera, et
Yes.
cetera? We'll
Yes.
talk about that a bit more in the inner
And,
circle.
and Dean, those are external voices, right? Then there's the internal voice, the self-doubt, that voice, the criticism and judgment that you have of yourself. So how do you work through that? We're going to talk about that in the inner circle too, because sometimes you can destroy your own dreams just by focusing on the criticism and the judgment that you have, the self-doubt that you have, within yourself. So we're going to talk about that too in the inner circle.
So
That
the
to me is a big one. That comes up all the time for me. That little voice inside says you're not good enough.
that not good enough, that nya 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 voice, whatever that is, that can be within each of us, certainly is within me, and I've identified that. That voice also then, when the external voices come in, then they get to play together. And the external voices, the internal voice allows there to be more energy with the external voice. And it's like, okay, let's focus on yin 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 now. Yin yin, do you want more yin yin yin? No, I don't want more yin yin yin, but I'm only going to talk about yin yin yin, and I'm going to focus on yin yin yin. And guess what I'm going to get more of? Yin yin yin. So of identifying and just that kind of creation of that yin 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 experience, identifying what is not yin 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 for me, peace, love, joy, and beginning to focus on how is this yin 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 happening for me.
Yeah.
But we'll
Does
go
it
into that
feel
more.
good? Is it,
Are
is
we
it,
are
is
we
it
moving
giving?
on here?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're at time. I think anything that you want to say before we go into the inner circle?
Nope. I guess we'll just go into the inner circle and we'll talk about these voices within and
I wish,
without.
and I
Get
hope
rid of
there are
these
some
voices within.
voices. Do any of you have this voice in your head? Like, I wonder what the inner circle is. I wonder how I can get into the inner circle. Do you think they'd let me into the inner? How do you get into the inner circle? Ooh, the inner circle must be really cool. All of those voices are great voices. No, I'm kidding. The inner circle you can become part of. Go to newthoughttuesdays.com. We are, it is a membership experience. Go to newthoughttuesdays.com, contact Rich. There is a conversation that you'll have. He'll talk about the requirements for being part of the inner circle
Yeah.
and what that is, and then we see how that was going to work for you, and you come and be part of the inner circle. But
Yes.
we have the inner circle waiting. Let's move on.
Okay. So we'll see you later. Also in the inner circle, we shut off all the video cameras. It's very private and nothing
Yep.
is set outside of the inner circle that goes on in the inner circle. So I'm going to stop the recording. We'll see you guys in the inner circle. Go to newthoughttuesdays.com and sign up so that you can be reminded of the New Thought Tuesdays every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time.
And 6 p.m. in London, and then also, what was it? 11 p.m. in India.
Yeah.
See you later.
Okay. Take care.